Hello everyone, good morning, good evening. Welcome to another PMP Q&A session. Today we will be discussing 10 more questions. So let me just share my screen and then we'll start. All right, so let's start question number 1. All right, Vivek, you have chosen option D.
Yes, as per like PMI's guidelines or principles, in any situation, we should analyze and understand the things first. What is the impact? And upon understanding the impact, then the subsequent actions can be taken. So, uh, in this situation, the seems more relevant option where the project manager should review the initial project plan and assess the impact by the early launch of the competitor's product, and then the subsequent step like A and B can be taken, and C is the something is very last step.
All right, thank you. Robin, you have chosen option D.
I was split between B and D, and I'm still quite split. But at the end of the day, I decided to go with assessing what we've got and to try and find out if it's impacted. Having said that, I'm not quite sure if it's possible to do that. So this is what made me quite split. So I'm still very hesitant with D, but I would go with D rather than B.
All right, thank you. One question, Robin, you said you're not sure about if you can do that. What you're not sure about?
We don't really know what the competitor's product is, so we don't know exactly how to compare.
All right.
So it's that sort of uncertainty that's involved in the question.
All right. Thank you. Lela, you have chosen option D.
Yeah, I kind of used the elimination technique here. So I went with the A, right? Inform the project sponsor and the stakeholders, the competitor action, and seek their guidance. I mean, that's not kind of taking an action. You just, inform them, and then whatever they tell you, it's not kind of proactive. Conduct a thorough market analysis. That was the first beginning of the answer was good, but under learn from the experience and then what's next, right? You just learn, but there's no actions taken. So I eliminate that as well. Consider canceling. You just don't cancel your product because somebody else or did an early launch. So I think the best option would be you just review the initial project plan and assess of the early product from the competitor, how it's going to impact your product, right? And based on that, then you'll make a decision. Then you're going to go inform the stakeholder and the sponsor, hey, this product was already launched, and then you go ahead and do other actions. I felt like, so that's why I chose D.
All right. Thank you for a detailed explanation. So yes, first we need to understand, for example, if there is a change, right? Or a new or a different product is released by the competitor. So you need to see what's the relevance of that product to your product, or what would be the impact of that, right? So what you will be doing, you will be reviewing the initial product plan and assess if it is impacted by early launch of the competitor's product. If the launch of the product does not impact your product, then you might not be doing anything. So first of all, you need to establish this relevance. So correct answer is option D. Let's read the explanation. So just ignore the correct answer. Correct answer is D. Read the explanation. So reviewing the initial product plan is the first action because it allows you to quickly assess the impact of competitors' early launch. So the very first thing that we will be doing is we will be reviewing if there is any impact or if the relevance, if the launch is relevant to your product. So just ignore this. This is D. Okay. Next question. All right. Vivek, you have chosen option C.
So I'm confused between option C and D. So since we are in like adding new feature in the middle of the development because of some priority changes or new development, so that's why it's basically done in the agile that we can add some new enhancements in the middle of the development. So going towards agile mostly, but again, it could be a feature driven development also because that particular feature is particularly driving. So, but mostly towards agile. That's I'm thinking of.
All right. Thank you. Laila, you have chosen option B.
The word repetitive, right? Driven by repetitive development and user feedback, that gave me kind of a hint for iterative, right? So it's repeating phases in a process, right, by users' feedbacks. That's why I went with iterative.
All right. Thank you for explanation. So let's read the question. It says you're managing a project to build an application that tracks the health of diabetic patient. Midway through the project, you realize that incorporating new AI-based features driven by repetitive development and user feedback could significantly enhance the value proposition of the product. Now, you're adding new features, and addition of those features or development of those features would be done through iterative process, right? Through repetitive processes means you will be developing the basic version of the feature, you will show it to customer, you seek feedback, and you do it again. So this repetition is called iterative life cycle, right? So correct answer is option B. Now, what is incremental? What is agile? What is feature-driven development? So incremental is, for example, you have more than one deliveries. Like, so for example, you deliver first set of feature then you deliver second set of feature, then you deliver third. So here we're not talking about multiple deliveries. You understand, everybody? We're talking about you are adding feature and you're developing product in a repetitive process. So this is iterative. If you just keep on adding feature and there is no repetition, that is incremental. If you have multiple deliveries plus you have repetitive process, that is called agile. Agile is combination of both incremental plus iterative. And feature driven development, it's a methodology under agile that says we plan by feature, we develop by feature, we deliver by features. Means feature by feature or feature after feature. So we're not talking about feature after feature here. We're just talking about the development is iterative or development is repetitive. So this is called iterative life cycle. So I can see different answers. Some of you have chosen A, some of you have chosen B, C. I hope you're clear about it. So let's read the explanation. Can you see the explanation, everybody?
Yes.
Okay, good. So I hope you're clear about the difference between incremental and iterative. So incremental is if you have 10 features, so you're delivering first feature after first iteration, then second, then third, then fourth. But if you deliver a feature and you take it back and you redo it, right? This is called iterative, repetitive, because you're doing repetitions. So in this case, you're developing the product through repetitive process. This is iterative. Next question. All right, Mohan, you have chosen option B.
Yeah, I thought the B was more appropriate in terms of what the business case usually focuses, right? It focuses on the economic feasibility and then the technical viability and the aspects of the technical aspects of the feasibility are worked downstream. So that's why I picked B.
All right, thank you. Lela, you have chosen option A.
Yeah, business case primarily actually addresses the economic feasibility. So I when it's the first only the first option had that primarily economic feasibility, but then I wasn't sure about the second part of it. So I went with A actually. I think it was better answer than all the other ones. It does not, I know it does not include both of them. So primarily it's about the economic feasibility, but I guess it could also include the technical feasibility. So that's why I went A.
All right, thank you. Robin, you have chosen option C.
I was split between A and C, but in the end, I thought that the technical feasibility does play quite an important role together with the economic part of it. So that's why I went with C.
All right, thank you for detailed explanation. So primarily, business case addresses economic feasibility study, but there are various sections under business case. For example, we have a risk section in business case. We have assumption section. We have for example, constraints. So primarily it addresses the economic part. However, to justify that economic part, we can add some technical aspects as well. So there is no restriction that business case would only be having the economic part of our analysis. So correct answer is option A. Business case primarily addresses economic feasibility, but it can also include technical feasibility, right? Option B is purely strict, like it's solely or the only thing that it had is economic feasibility. It's not correct, right? Both economic and technical feasibility are included? No. So primarily it addresses economic part, but to justify that economic part, it can have some technical aspects as well, right? So correct answer is option A. Let's read the explanation. Next question. All right, Mohan, you have chosen option A.
I thought I was I was right, but basically, I think once you're starting the sprint, the team pulls the user stories from the sprint backlog and then prioritizes it. So it's basically like a team responsibility and accountability. So that's why I picked A. Estimation obviously has got nothing to do with it. Customer needs, I mean, this could be a good one, but then basically um, all the prioritization of the user stories are done in the product backlog by the product owner. So that's been done. But once it's in the sprint backlog, I thought A was the right answer.
All right, thank you, Mohan. Beth, you have chosen option C.
I did, but listening to Mohan, now I'm rethinking that. Because I was thinking that, all customer needs are in the backlog, but not necessarily the sprint backlog. So I'm not confident that that was the right answer. So I initially thought it was, just because that's just a list of all the tasks we need to do. So that was my initial thoughts.
All right, thank you. Okay, Robin, you have chosen option A.
I found value in all of the options, but I thought that maybe priority would have the edge on each of the other options. So that's why I chose option A.
All right, thank you for explanation. So question is how many? So if you read the question, it says you're managing an agile product and the team is preparing for the next sprint. On what basis should you decide how many user stories should become part of the sprint backlog? So the keyword is how many. We're not talking about which user stories. You understand? So for example, you have a list of user story. If the question is, you're not sure which of them should become part of sprint backlog, then priority is the right answer. You understand? How many? 1, 2, 3. So it depends on estimation, team's capacity, how much team is capable of completing. You understand, everybody? So how many, answer of how many is capability, and capability is calculated based on estimation. So correct answer is option B. If the question says which user stories, then maybe customer needs and priority, or even the sequence. All three options are correct. You understand? But here we're not talking about which of them should you include. We're talking about how many. So it all depends on the estimation or the capacity of the team member. So correct answer is option B. Let's read the explanation. I thought this would be the easiest question. And surprisingly, only one of the options is B. All right. Next question. All right, Vivek, you have chosen option D.
Yes. So all options looks relevant, but all the other steps like A, B, and C can be done parallelly. But the most important is to get the knowledge from the giving person. So to ensure the formal handover like by departing project manager is more important, and that's the first course of action should be taken.
All right. So what's happening in the question, Vivek? Normally what happen is like you are, let's suppose the development team, you have your own product manager and there is a one representative from the customer side. They also call it project manager from customer side. So what's happening here, customer, they have informed you their project manager or they have replaced their product manager. So what you should be doing? So this is the question, right? Okay.
Oh, so I could not understand. So I'll change my answer B in that case. So,
Okay. Okay, right. Thank you.
sorry.
Manmeet, you have chosen option B.
I was not able to understand the question at the first, but now you explain, now it makes sense. So yeah, if the customer has replaced the new project manager, they have replaced the old one with the new one. So definitely having a face-to-face meeting, maybe enlighten or me or him to be on the same page. We can sync together so that the ongoing project can have a success. So a lot of things can be discussed. So face-to-face meeting is the first thing that we should do.
Absolutely. So there's a change in stakeholder community, like a new stakeholder has joined. So what you should be doing, this is the question, right? So normally what we do, we update the stakeholder register, right? Whenever there is a change in stakeholder community, if new stakeholders join or some stakeholders leave, we update the stakeholder register. But to update the stakeholder register, we need to understand stakeholders' characteristics, like their needs, their preferences, their category. So to understand those aspects or those characteristics, we need to have a face-to-face meeting with the, so we're talking about what's the best course of action. So best course of action is to have a meeting with the new project manager and get this relevant data and then update your stakeholder register. So correct answer is option B. All other options are incorrect. Let's read the explanation. Next question. All right, Manmeet, you have chosen option B.
I used the elimination method and I focused on three things: low morale, little initiative, and lack of ownership. To my understanding, option D, misalignment, comes when uh, they have separate goals and project goals. They don't want to align with it. So that's something intentional, or maybe they're not happy within the environment. So I cancel D because it was not making sense with these three words. They did fully understand because it said despite clear communications, option A I eliminated. C is, again, I was not very sure. So D, what I thought is it's lack of ownership and low morale, no initiative or little initiative. It may be that the project goals have been set without involving the team. They were not um, engaged enough while setting up the goals, and that's how they are discouraged that, okay, we were not informed or acknowledged beforehand, so they are having low morale because the team seems disengaged to meet the deadline. So that's where I picked option B, to my understanding.
All right, thank you. Vivek, you have chosen option C.
Yes, again, low morale, low initiative, and lack of initiative, and even the communication has been done with the team, clear communication. So these are the signs of like a team is still storming. They are not jailed with each other. They are having not having like uh, team bonding yet done between themselves. So other 3 points are like mm, those are relevant, but as the sign has been asked, so the most likely sign is that this is a storming team, and that's why they are still struggling with the basic understandings.
All right, thank you for detailed explanation. So let's read the question. It says you're leading a project team that has been showing signs of low morale, little initiative, and a lack of ownership. Despite clear communication of the product goals, the team seems disengaged and struggles to meet deadlines. What's the most likely root cause of these issues? Now, option C, the team may be in the storming stage. So being in storming stage is not a root cause, it's the outcome. You understand? So root cause is what's the fundamental reason why a team is doing that. So it's not like that team is in the storming stage. You understand, everybody? So being in storming stage is the outcome. It's not the root cause. Root cause would be something else. So for example, what's the root cause that team members are in the storming stage? So the root cause is that because they feel threatened, there is misalignment, right? So the root cause is different. I hope you understand. So option C is not the right answer. So there are two reasons why option C is not the correct. One, it's not a root cause, right? And second, if we see, it says lack of ownership. So this is not a team dynamic in the storming stage. In the storming stage, there is an initiative, and because of initiative and because of misalignment, people have conflict. So the dynamics of storming stage are exactly different as compared to what's happening in this statement, right? So lack of ownership, one of the reasons for not taking ownership is lack of involvement. So correct answer is option B, product goals may have been set without involving the team, because when you don't involve people, they don't take ownership, right? So this is a question relevant to a theory that is management by objective, MBO, like set objective by involving team members if you really want them to take ownership, right? If I'm not involved in decision making, if something is imposed on me, I won't be taking ownership of that. All other options are incorrect. Option A, the team may not fully understand the product. No, despite clear communication. So communications are happening, so A can't be the right answer. C, the team may be in the storming stage. I have talked about it. There may be a misalignment between the goals. Again, this is not the root cause. This is the outcome, right? So only option that is correct is option B. Let's read the explanation. Next question. All right. Beth, you have chosen option A.
Yes. So transparent and objective criteria is communicated, seemed to be the right one. But then I went through to exclude the other ones, involve the bidder in the entire bids evaluation process. Generally, in my experience, the other bidders don't get access to each other's information. Regular audits would be good, but I'm not sure it's the best answer. And then open bids in the presence of all bidders. Again, I have not experienced anyone actually sharing other other companies' information. So that's why I picked A. I stated A.
All right. Thank you for detailed explanation. Manmeet, you have chosen option D.
To my understanding, it's a personal bias from the evaluator. So the claim is that they were excluded due to personal bias, and that's something we could have avoided by opening the bids in the presence of all bidders. That is the most practical, and I believe the safe process of having all the bidders in the room and start the bids around that to make sure there is a transparency and fairness to all bidders. So that's why I believe that, because they asked what could have done to avoid the situation. So that's why I picked option D here.
All right, thank you for the explanation. So let's read the question. So question says a vendor has complained that they were excluded from the bidding process, right? So due to personal bias from the evaluator. So what could have been done to avoid the situation? So let's start from option D, open bids in the presence of all the bidders representatives. So what is meant by bids opening? So for example, let's suppose you received all the offers. So you open them in front of everybody so that you're not able to change the numbers. Let's suppose I want to favor Robin, right? Robin is one of the vendors, and Mohan is another vendor, and Lela is another vendor. So if all the vendors, they don't know what are the numbers quoted by Robin, what are the numbers quoted by Mohan, what are the numbers quoted by Lela, there's a greater chance that we can play with numbers, right? We can change the numbers. I can work with Robin to change the number and just favor. But it's not just about numbers, right? Or objective numbers. It's about how you perceive different vendors. So for example, level of experience, right? Level of skill set. So we have personal bias where we have some flexibility. You understand, where we have some subjectivity, where my personal, inclination plays role. So how we can avoid that personal effect from the evaluation? By having a clear objective evaluation criteria. So if we have clear objective criteria, my personal bias can't affect the evaluation process. You understand, everybody? So for example, if I know what would be the score for number of years of experience, and if Robin has, let's suppose, 10 years of experience, I can only give him 10 points. I can't give him 15, 20 because the criteria is pretty clear. So ensure that transparent and objective evaluation criteria are established. If there is an objectivity in the criteria, means there is no subjectivity. If there is no subjectivity, means my personal biases, even if I like to, I can't do anything. You understand, everybody? So correct answer is option A, ensure that transparent and objective evaluation criteria are established and communicated to all evaluators and vendors. Option B, by just opening the bids in front of the vendors would not solve the problem. This is just one part of it. Okay, we have opened all the bids. Now what next? How we can minimize that personal bias? that will come into play when I will be evaluating the bids. So opening is a step one, then comes the evaluation. You understand? So D is not the right answer. Ensure regular audits. This is not a proactive action. The question talks about what could have been done. So C is not correct. Option B, involve the bidder in the entire bids evaluation. We don't involve them because some of you have mentioned, like, we have some confidential information, so we don't share with all the bidders. So correct answer is option A. Ensure that transparent and objective evaluation criteria are established and communicated to all evaluators. Let's read the explanation. In case you have a different opinion or a comment on the explanation, please feel free to share. Okay, next question. All right, Mohan, you have chosen option B.
I honestly forgot what I know what this was covered in the class. Since this is a one-time collaboration, and there's going to be no business after this. I can't remember, but I guess I mean I just took a guess that distributive negotiation would be the best option. Win-win again would be where you have to do business with them. I forget what any integrative negotiation is, and collaborative again would be for long term.
All right, thank you, Mohan. Robin, you have chosen option D.
Option D. Yes, a difficult one for me, but I felt that that would be the fairest option to go for in the circumstances. So that's why I chose option D.
All right, thank you, Robin. Leila, you have chosen option A.
Yeah, to be honest, I selected A, but I think it's the distributor negotiation because over here, as much as you earn, as much as you get would benefit you, right? Knowing that you're not going to be dealing with this vendor again. So as much as I can negotiate with him to benefit more, and this profit. So I think would be distributive. I mean, I'm not going to collaborate with him, so it's not a collaborative negotiation. Integrate. Yeah, so I think it's option B. I changed myself from A to B.
All right, thank you, Leila. So win-win negotiation, integrative, collaborative, all three options are same, right? So integrative, collaborative, win-win, these are just different names of same and negotiation strategy. In this statement, as Mohan mentioned, it's a one-time transaction. When it is one-time transaction, you just want to take maximum out of this deal. And this strategy is called distributive negotiation, when you take care of your own interest, right? So when there are no future prospects, right, it's a lucrative deal, no need to be integrative. What is integrative? Integrative is taking care of interest of all the parties involved. And we do that when we have anticipation of future negotiation or future transactions, and we're looking for a long-term relationship, and we negotiate with partners. So if we negotiate with strangers and there are no future prospects, we look for our own interest, and that is called distributed negotiation. So the only correct option is option B. All other options are incorrect. Let's read the explanation. Next question. All right, Beth, you have chosen option C.
Yes. I took out both no answers because I do know that Agile can be used on fixed contracts, so fixed budgets. So that was my immediate thought. And then limiting the number of iterations doesn't seem to doesn't align with the Agile philosophy. So that got me down to C, which is yes. And we are going to prioritize features and flexibility, adjusting scope. And those are all the kind of key words within Agile. So I stayed with C.
All right, thank you so much. So most of you have chosen option C. So yes, C is correct answer. In Agile, we do manage projects with when we have fixed budget. So for example, client says, hey, I have $600,000 for this project. So we will be completing this project in 600,000. So what we will be doing, we will be adjusting scope to stay within the budget by prioritizing. So we say, okay, these are the high priority feature. Okay, let's develop them, right? So you can easily eliminate B and D. So realistically, practically, if we see, so for example, if we have fixed budget, we still can use Agile. It's not like that if budget is fixed, we say, no, we can't use that. So you can easily eliminate B and D. And as Beth mentioned, by limiting the number of iteration, how you can do all the features. If you are reducing number of iterations, it means you would be doing less work. So it is oxymoronic, it is self-contradictory. So correct answer is option C. By prioritizing high-value features and flexibly adjusting scope to stay within the fixed budget, right? Let's read the explanation. Last question. Okay, Mohan, you have chosen option D.
Yeah, I think I didn't pick C just because I want to understand where the customer is going in terms of, getting more details from them, understanding, what are the modifications in the scope they're requesting, right? And then once I have that, I would then review the scope baseline and see, what the impact is and do the other steps. Contract I eliminated because the question doesn't say anything about a contract. And the change log again, it's a step which would happen after.
All right, thank you. Anton, you have chosen option D.
Yes, I had the same logic. I understand we need to change the scope, but the question is what exactly are we going to change, like, and to what extent? So that's why I thought D, seeking further details would be appropriate answer.
All right, thank you for detailed explanation. So when we have a change request, we actually do all of these things, like we update the change log, we review the contract, we review the scope baseline. But before doing anything, you need information about the change. So for example, if customer says, I need a change, so what's the change? Accordingly, you will be saying if you need a change request or it would be processed without a change request, or if contract allows certain kind of changes, right? So the first thing that you should do when you have this information, seek further information about like what the change is, right? And then you can determine what you would be doing next. So correct answer is option D. Let's read the explanation. All right, everybody, we're done with today's session. So just mention your score in the chat window. 60%, 50%, 70, 60, 60. 60, 60, 60. Wonderful. So great. I'm happy you're making progress. The questions are slightly easier as compared to previous mock test. Why these are easier? Because in these mock tests, you can see combination of questions. Some questions are easy and some questions are difficult. So this is how your real exam would look like. Normally in these mock tests, we only have difficult questions. But when we have difficult question, you get 30% or 40%. So I decided just to have a mix of questions so that you don't get discouraged. So more or less, you can see your performance in the exam would be similar to this, right? If you're getting 50%, you're in the exam, you will be getting 50%. So that's your preparation level. All right, everybody, thank you so much. I'll see you tomorrow with another lesson. Take good care of yourself. Bye.
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.